Welcome to week 6 of the Mountain Valley News Pigskin Preview. I'm Monk Blevins, and this is Logan Wright, and we're back with you this week to talk a little high school football. Logan, we're 7 weeks in, so what do you think about the football season so far?
Well, I think we're really just starting to develop and find where every team is going to fall so far in the region, and we know there's a lot of teams that still have their playoff hopes alive, and pretty soon we're going to start to see who's going to make the cut and who's not going to make the cut. So that's what they're all fighting for right now.
Absolutely. One region that I was thinking about, this region at Plainview and Sylvania and New Hope, man, that is a tough region, and we were discussing this a little bit before the show, talking about, how we think this thing's going to shake out. And, well, I'll tell you what, man, this thing could go either way. I mean, everybody is pretty even in this region. And, of course, then we got Fife's region, which looks like, I tell you what, Fife is on a mission since losing to Cleveland, and so it's an exciting time. You'll start seeing the playoff picture make a lot more sense over the next couple of weeks, and so I'm excited to see how all these games fall out this week. Let's go ahead and start talking about our football games this week. And, our first game, we got Valley Head will be traveling down to Fife. Valley Head comes in, and, man, they took a beating against a good Spring Garden team. They lost that game 50-6, and one of the things that it was kind of odd in that game, of course, weather was terrible on Friday night, but the second half they actually shortened that game. They cut the quarters to 9-minute quarters, and so I'd never heard of that, but Spring Garden held Valley Head to 43 yards in the first half total yardage, and then in the second half I think they may have had maybe 100 yards. So it was like 153 yards for the game that Friday night. So, man, Valley Head, that was a tough ball game. And really surprised me. I thought that game would be close. Well, what's your thoughts on this Valley Head team?
You talk about the weather. I mean, I was out there in it. I mean, it was horrible. It was the worst playing conditions. You hear all these older men talk about, oh, it's going to be a mud bowl, and they're going to get to play in the mud, and they live for this. Personally, I hated it. I hated playing in the mud. If the ball's slippery, you can't hold on the football. If you're a passing team, it's definitely going to hurt your completion percentage. But one thing you talked about was the shortening of quarters. I've never heard that either. That sounds like sort of like a mercy rule in like Little League Baseball or something. But
yeah, that was kind of odd to me. But they'll be traveling down to Fife, and we talk about Fife each week, and Fife comes in after beating a good Gaston team. They beat them 56-14, and Dylan Kilpatrick, man, he just keeps rolling. He had 207 yards on the night, and they had Fife scored 3 touchdowns in the first quarter, and they scored, I think, four touchdowns in the second quarter, or something. It was one of those crazy nights. But this Fife team, man, they are the real deal, and like we've said, after they lost to Cleveland, I think it's just been a mission of theirs to prove, hey, we are the number 1 team in the state. So what's your thoughts on Fife and
they're rolling right now. They are on a roll. They have all the momentum they could possibly have, and I feel like they're still affected by that Cleveland loss. A lot of people sort of wrote them off and said, well, they're not going to make it to state now. They got beat by Cleveland. Maybe they're not as good as we thought they were. They're not as good as the team last year, but seems like they are on a mission to show everyone that they are as good or even better than they were last year. And I think they're starting to show people that. I mean, they'll definitely get into some tougher competition in the playoffs, and that's where we will really see them develop. But I see them getting better and better each week. And Dylan Kilpatrick, that kid is a beast. I mean, give him the ball and tell him which way to go because he's going to get there.
Absolutely. And, having a running back like that, they bring a new quarterback in and Seth Benefield, and he's done a great job. But that's taken some pressure off of him. And, and when you can run the ball like the Kilpatrick kid can, that helps your passing game. And so Benefield has done a great job in the passing game. And so I'm telling you, this Fife team, I mean, they're one to be watching because I would be very disappointed if they don't make a deep run in the playoffs or even get to the state championship.
I think a lot of people would, especially the town of Fife.
Yeah. Our next game we want to talk about is Fort Payne, and they'll be traveling over to Scottsboro. Fort Payne comes in, and man, they played a Lee team who was 1-4, and Lee gave them all they wanted for the first half. But man, I tell you, Desmond Turner, he just keeps rolling up the big numbers. He had 285 yards on the night, 3 touchdowns, and that actually puts him at 1,207 total yards rushing for the season. Man, that's unbelievable. I tell you, this kid is the real deal, and I think we would have saw this last year if he could have stayed healthy. But I tell you what, he is something else to watch. What's your thoughts on Fort Payne and going and traveling over to Scottsboro this weekend?
They're going to be trying to win that Top Cat trophy this week. We always talk about that. And as far as Desmond Turner goes, running backs are usually, they feel accomplished if they rush for 1,000 yards in a season, much less in a few games. He has games left to add to that, and I know he will because 285 yards, that's unheard of, especially for around here. He's going to go somewhere to play. He just has to stay healthy, and I feel like he is helping Fort Payne contribute a lot. This is a scary Fort Payne team. I see them making a deep playoff run.
Yeah, this Fort Payne team, and we talk a lot about Desmond Turner and the offense, and of course, I'm not taking anything away from him, but Fort Payne's defense, after struggling a little in the first half, they had 3 picks in the second half against Lee. So I'm telling you, this Fort Payne defense, when they have to play, they play. And, one of the things I think they'll be interested in this week as Fort Payne travels to Scottsboro is Patrick Nix is the coach at Scottsboro. And if most of y'all know him, he was a quarterback at Auburn. But his son is the quarterback for Scottsboro. And he actually had been out for a few weeks. And he's back this week, a 9th grader. And he can light it up. And he had a great game. My understanding, they played North Jackson, and he brought them back about 2 or 3 times. I think they were down 21 points, and he started throwing the ball, and they went back ahead, and then they lost the lead, and then he carried them down the field, and they won the game 30-28. So this will be a great matchup, and like I said, this is for the Top Cat Trophy, and so that'll be an exciting football game to watch this Friday night. Our next game, we got Crossville traveling to Cherokee County, and boy, I tell you, last week, Sachs is, man, they're loaded with talent, and Crossville got beat 40-7, and just listening to what Coach Cloudus had said, he said actually they had a chance to take the lead. They drove the ball down, I think, inside the 10-yard line and turned it over on downs with a chance to go up on Sachs, which would be. And but the thing about Coach Cloudus, he keeps talking. He said, "Man, this team is playing hard," and how proud he was of them. They're 0-6. But I tell you, they're playing hard, and man, wouldn't you like to see this group just get just one win? I mean, it's amazing what can happen when you get one victory under your belt. So, it's going to be another tough week for them playing Cherokee County. I know Cherokee County is down a little bit, but man, it would be nice to see Crossville get that first victory. What's your thoughts on this Crossville team? And
I completely agree with you. It would be great to see Crossville get a win. We know they haven't had one yet, but it's not to say one's not to come as long as they keep working and keep improving. And I think they're trying to do that. Talk about Cherokee County. It's a good football team. I know Crossville lost to Sachs, which I believe they're number 1 or number 2 in that region. We talk about how tough that 4A region is, that they really don't have a bye week, that every week it's bam, bam, bam. And even when they're playing people out of region, they're playing pretty good teams. Like, their schedule is booked pretty tough. Like, I've seen it.
Yeah, it's going to be another tough week for Crossville, but Coach Cloudus just keeps pushing them, and hey, sooner or later they're going to get that first victory, and it'll be a great time when they do. So our next game, we got Ider going down to Collinsville, man, and I guess of all the games last week that was a surprise to me was this Ider team. Man, they have played great all week, but they took a whipping against West End on Friday night. That was a 48-7. And, that just Ider couldn't get anything going. West End jumped out 21-0 right off the bat in the first quarter. So what's your thoughts on this Ider and what they need to do to get back on the winning track this week?
I didn't get the opportunity to watch this game, but when I seen the score, I was like, man, somebody, misprinted this. Like, Ider's going to be mad they messed up the score. But I know that Coach Tinker will have his boys ready, and they'll use this as momentum. And I believe Ider's going to bounce back from this, and I believe they're going to do sort of like a Fife and Cleveland sort of deal, how they use that to help better themselves throughout the season. And I think that Ider will really use this and hopefully build off of it.
Yeah. Jarrett Palmer, and I guess the bright spot in the Ider game, he had 2 touchdowns, and he rushed for about 70 yards, I think, and he had one 34-yard run for a touchdown. So, they have the talent. And you never know. You get on these wet fields, man. Sometimes the traction is terrible, and it's just if you're not used to playing in the rain, it's hard to hold on to the football. So, that was really probably the surprise game of the week for me that Ider was handled. Not that West End shouldn't have beat them, but Ider has played close with everybody with the exception of the Fife game, and so I guess that one really surprised me. So next game we're going to talk about is Sandrock and Geraldine. Geraldine comes in, man, and they played a tough, hard-nosed North Sand Mountain team this week and lost that game. It was a battle. I think it was 20-17, and this Geraldine team. Again, we talk about this region, man. I tell you, Geraldine has a chance, Sandrock has a chance, Plainview has a chance. We got all these teams, and man, they're just kind of all right there together. And depending from week to week how this thing's going to shake out, who makes the playoffs and who has to stay at home. So, what's your thoughts on Sandrock and Geraldine?
Well, last week Sandrock actually played Sylvania, and they came up big. I picked them, and I was happy they did. They came through for me. They're helping my picks out, just like North Sand. But see, this game, this is I want to say a must-win, but it needs to be a necessity for both of these teams if they want to continue in the playoffs. And if nothing else, where they will be seated in the playoffs to see which team they will draw from another region.
Yeah.
So Sandrock definitely needs to win this game to get in the playoffs. And I know Sandrock's been on a roll, and they've been playing good lately, and they're going to have to continue that because this Geraldine team is no joke. Their line is huge. Their defense is playing pretty well. Their team has played great at times.
Yeah.
This will be a so much better team if they'll all play together and offense, defense, special teams, everybody be great at the same time.
Oh, absolutely. And this will be a great football game. I know Sandrock had some injuries early in the season, and it looks like they've got those players back, and they're pretty healthy right now. And I tell you, they're on a 2-game winning streak and playing pretty good right now. So they do have to travel to Geraldine. So this is going to be a great football game. And, again, Geraldine, Stephen Hood continues to play well for Geraldine. And so this will be an exciting football game. And I tell you, the winner of this Sandrock and Geraldine, that's another step into getting into that first round of the playoffs. Our next game, we got Pisgah traveling to Brindley Mountain. Pisgah comes in and, man, they took a tough loss to Plainview this last week, and, it was back and forth. I think you covered that game. And so what's your thoughts on Pisgah, and what do they need to do to win this week and actually, might still have a shot at maybe getting in the playoffs?
Well, Pisgah's another team I don't think needs to be swept under the rug just yet when it comes to playoff berths. I feel like this is a great Pisgah team. Their quarterback plays really well. He doesn't throw many interceptions. He completes the ball. And J.T. Jersick, he is a player for Pisgah. I don't know how this kid finds the end zone as many times as he does, but every game he's the one toting the ball and he's the one getting points on the board for Pisgah. And they're a very deadly combination. I know they came up a little bit short against Plainview, but that was a great game. Talk about the weather. If it was a pretty day, sunny 75, that game might have went differently. But it wasn't. It was mist, rain, it was mud, and it was nasty. And Plainview went out there and got it done. But Pisgah made that a ball game until the very end of the fourth quarter.
Yeah, this will be a great game. Like I said, Albie Smothers for a quarterback for Pisgah. He continues to play great at quarterback and can throw the ball very well. This Pisgah team has a good passing game, and so it's going to be exciting to.
One thing I actually saw from Albie Smothers, he ran the ball Friday night, and he ran the ball very well. And I believe that's why Pisgah was up in the first half, because Plainview wasn't really ready for that. They saw him as more of a passing quarterback, but he toted the ball very well for a lot of yards.
Yeah. The next game we want to talk about, we've got Section traveling to Cleveland. Of course, Section comes in, man, they took a beating, 34-10, I think, against a good. I just went blank and forgot who they were playing. So, but against Collinsville, yeah, and so man, they need a win bad too. They're kind of in that same situation as Crossville, and they played well at times. They played good against Plainview in the first half, and they played good against Collinsville. As a matter of fact, at one time, the Collinsville only had a 13-10 lead against this. They had come back. Collinsville jumped out to 13-0, and Section was able to come back and cut it 13-10, but then, man, the second half, it was all Collinsville. I tell you, this Collinsville team, I tell you, they continue to play well, and Grant Jones talking about having a rough night when it's wet. He was 6 for 6 for 140 yards passing on Friday night against Section, and Dallas Reed. We've talked about him. He was Mountain Valley News Player of the Week, I think, a couple of weeks ago. He had one touchdown reception of 63 yards and had another touchdown reception of 61 yards. So, and then Trenton Nash had, I think, about 70 yards rushing. And then the other kid, the Blakely kid, he ran for 140 yards. So this Collinsville team, I tell you, they're pretty tough, and so it's going to be interesting, to see how Section can bounce back this week after losing to a good Collinsville team. So we'll see how that falls out. This team, the Cleveland team they're playing, we know what they can do. I mean, they come into Fife and beat a
that does not happen very often.
Team. So it's going to be it'll be a tough night for Section, but we'll see how that falls out. Our next game, and this is the Mountain Valley News Game of the Week, we got North Sun Mountain traveling to New Hope. Man, I'm telling you, this ball game, I talk about North Sun Mountain. I have picked against them 5 times this year, and I'm 1-4. Mm-hmm. It just seems like every time I pick against North Sun Mountain, they win. And but I tell you, they're going to be traveling to New Hope in what probably is going to be for the region championship. They're both sitting at 4-0 on the season, and Eric George for North Sun Mountain, man, he just continues to plow over people, and he's had a great season. Of course, on the other side, we got New Hope, and they have got all kinds of the Cotton kid at running back. Man, he can fly. They got the great quarterback, and so this will be a great football game. What's your thoughts on this North Sun Mountain New Hope game?
I tell you, I believe in the Bison. Because you talk about how you've picked against them so many times. Well, I've picked for them, and they have helped me out so much in my picks. And I don't know if I can pick against them the rest of the season, just because everyone sort of writes them off because they haven't had that great of a season in the past. This is a different team, and they're playing like it. They're out to win, and they're coming up. They're coming in every game, and they're competing. And even in the games they lost, like you talk about Otter, that's a very close game. They almost pulled that one out. Every game they've won has been close, and I feel like they're going to have a chance against this New Hope team. Like you said, it's for the region championship, and Browner from New Hope is a great quarterback.
Absolutely.
But North Sun Mountain is a passing offense, so I feel like their defense is going to be a little more well-adjusted to it. So he's going to have some trouble, I think.
Yeah, this will be a great football game, and, like I said, the winner of this ball game, probably, unless something crazy happens, and who knows, from week to week, crazy things happen. But probably the winner of this ball game will be the region champ, and so that's gonna be a great football game to watch, and that'll be an interesting one to see how that falls out this week. Our next game, and man, this is a big football game, and it's a big rivalry. Sylvania will be traveling down to Plainview this week. Sylvania comes in after losing to a good Sandrock team, and I tell you, the Sylvania Rams, man, their turnovers, they cannot hang on to the football. It's just every week it's amazing. They had 5 turnovers this week, and we talk about Sylvania every week, and they've got a pretty good football team. At times they play well, but man, their turnovers come at a terrible time. One time they were inside the 10-yard line, turned the football over, going in to score to actually take the lead. So this Sylvania team, they're going to be traveling to Plainview, and Plainview is on a high right now. They've got a 3-game winning streak going, and beat a pretty good Pisgah team last week. And so what's your thoughts on this Sylvania and Plainview, and what does Sylvania need to do to have a chance to even win this ball game?
If Sylvania wants to win this game, they have to hold on to the football, plain and simple. You cannot win games without winning the turnover ratio. The turnover ratio decides the score on the scoreboard every time. Plainview, they've been playing great right now, and they're, like you said, they're on a high. They're on top of a mountain right now, and they're going to have to continue with this momentum because they can't afford to lose this game if they want a good spot in the playoffs or to even make the playoffs. So they're going to have to continue to win. Sylvania sort of down right now. They've been losing. They lost to the Sandrock Wildcats, which that's a pretty good team. You have Caleb Kasinger at quarterback. He's a good quarterback. He's competed against a lot of people. So I don't think there's any shame in losing to that team. But Sylvania's definitely going to have to rebound from this because they don't have time to think about last week.
Right. Yeah. Again, should be a great football game, and in the past, man, this is a big rivalry, and they're a couple of miles away from each other, and the fans get excited about this ball game. So I know it's going to be a very exciting game, and and we're talking about Plainview, and actually Plainview was our Mountain Valley News Team of the Week this week, and they had a great game, like we said, against Pisgah, and they're starting to click. I mean, it seems like and we've talked about this all year. So like when you get that first victory, all of a sudden, you figure out, hey, I can win, and you figure out how things, what you can do to get the win. And so Coach Goodwin, has had, he's got this team playing well right now. Mm-hmm. So, it's going to be a big football game, and man, I'm excited about watching this football game and seeing how Sylvania can bounce back, and seeing if Plainview can keep this streak going and get that fourth win this year. So, also, and we're talking about Plainview, and I think also for Plainview, our Player of the Week came from Plainview mm-hmm. this week too. And tell us about our Player of the Week this week.
Our Mountain Valley News Player of the Week is Sam Mueller. He put up 244 yards against Pisgah with 3 touchdowns. His rushing yards came at such a great time. He was there when his team needed him. He broke one for, I believe it was 94 yards. Wow. That doesn't happen very, very many times on this mountain. He did it. He was there when his team needed him. And I actually interviewed him after the game, and I said, what did it feel like, you coming through for your team? He said, nah, man, it wasn't me. It was all the offensive line. It was all of them. It's all the hard work they put in. Too much blue. Yeah. I loved it. I loved it.
Yeah. I love to hear it when a running back, and when he has a great game like that, and he gives his line a compliment, because I'm going to tell you what, you can't run unless you've got a good offensive line. That is for sure. All right, let's go ahead. We're going to talk about a few college games. Our first game, we've got Georgia will be traveling to Tennessee. Man, Georgia comes in after, the game was hyped up last week. Alabama traveling over to Georgia, and everybody felt like Georgia would handle Alabama pretty good. And man, I tell you, Alabama went in on a mission, and they put a good whipping on this Georgia team. And so, Georgia's got to bounce back this week and travel up to Tennessee. Tennessee comes in. Man, they lost a heartbreaker. They jumped out on Arkansas 14-0. But then, from that point on, it was all Arkansas, and they wound up losing that football game. So, this will be a great football game. And, man, Tennessee's in the same boat as some of these high school teams. They need a win bad right now. They keep jumping out and getting the lead, and for some reason, they just can't hang on to that lead once they get it. So, and, Georgia is going to want to come in and say, hey, we're a better football team than we played against Alabama last week. So what's your thoughts on this Georgia-Tennessee game?
Georgia's defense is still amazing. I don't care. I know they had an off week, I'll call it, but they're playing Alabama. I mean, come on. We all know how good Alabama is.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit biased, but I still think they're going to rebound from that, and I feel like this Tennessee team is not as good as some of the Tennessee teams in the past. I don't feel like the coaching is there enough for them, but maybe later in the season they'll start to click and they'll start to develop something they can work with.
Yeah. Yeah, our next game we're going to talk about, and then we'll just hit this briefly. LSU will be traveling to South Carolina, and South Carolina is struggling. Steve Spurrier, man, I tell you, he's just been a great coach, but for some reason they just can't get it going this year. And, LSU will be traveling up there, and I tell you, this LSU team, man, they're rolling on all cylinders. They've got the Fournette kid in their backfield who's probably right now the leading Heisman candidate, and, he just continues. You can't tackle him. I mean, he is a beast. So what's your thoughts on this game? And
Fournette is my Fournette for Heisman. I pick him. I'm just saying, if they gave me a vote, that's who I'm picking. He is an all-around beast. He doesn't run away from people. He runs through people. Yeah. Rudy Ford made the worst mistake he could have made when he said, I think we'll have no problem tackling him, because he's showing everybody's having a problem tackling him.
Oh, absolutely. And then our last game we want to talk about, we've got Arkansas will be traveling to Alabama, and, Alabama comes in after the big win over Georgia. Man, what can you say? This Alabama defense is the real deal, and, one of the things I guess that impressed me a lot was, the weak point, I guess, if you had a weak spot for Alabama, was their defensive backs, man, and they played great on Saturday. They had 3 picks, and man, they were all over the field. And so, this will be a good game, but, again, this is one of those matchups, I think, where Alabama's defense matches up really well against Arkansas. So what's your thoughts on this game?
Well, if you would have asked me the weak point going into last week, I would have said the quarterback position. But I believe Coker's taking care of that, and I believe he's earned the starting job from the way he played against Georgia. And I feel like this is going to be a tough night for Arkansas.
Oh, yeah. All right. Well, now we've talked about all of our games this week, and now it's time for us to pick them. And I think we've got a guest picker. So you want to introduce our guest picker this week?
Yes. Our guest picker is a very close personal friend of mine. His name is David Holt. He is the new career coach at the tech school. You want to tell us a little bit about your new job?
Well, I'm still learning. There's a long list of things I'm supposed to be a specialty or expert in, and I'm telling you, I hate to even start with that list. But I'm having a great time. I'm enjoying my position across the road, and so glad you guys invited me to come over.
Hey, we're glad to have you. David has been a friend of mine for years. We go to church together, and he taught in the 6th grade with my wife for
a lot of years,
and I know she misses having him there to cry, lean on his shoulder and cry sometimes. But David is a great friend, and we're glad to have you here today, David. And the way we do this, since you're our guest today, we're going to let you pick first. So
okay,
we're going to start right now. So with the first game, we've got Valley Head traveling to Fife. So who you want in this one?
I say the Big Red's going to roll right on down.
All right, Logan, what do you got?
Oh, I told you last week, I don't even look to see if they're playing anymore. I'm picking Fife.
Yeah, I'm going with Fife too. I tell you, like we've talked about, I think Fife is on a mission to prove everybody that said, hey, they're down this year after losing to Cleveland. And
that's a good program they got going on.
Absolutely. Coach Benefield has done a great job there, and I think you'll see them just continue to roll each week. So our next game, we got Fort Payne traveling to Scottsboro. Who you got in this one?
Got to go with the Wildcats. Fort Payne. That was a joke.
Yes, yeah.
I feel like Fort Payne's definitely going to be the top cat this year, and I feel like they're going to bring that trophy home.
Well, I'll tell you what, this one was a little tough for me to pick, and I waited till the last. Scottsboro, and I had mentioned Patrick Nix's son. Man, he is the real deal at quarterback, and they beat a good North Jackson team. But then you sit here and you start thinking about Desmond Turner. Man, that kid is awesome. I mean, 1,200 yards in a half a season. So I'm going with Fort Payne too. I think their running game will just be a little too much for Scottsboro this week. Our next game, we got Crossville traveling to Cherokee County. Who you got in this one, David?
I think Cherokee County is going to be the successor this time.
Mm-hmm. Logan?
We talked about Crossville's having trouble this year, and hopefully they'll be able to build and start some momentum this game, but I feel like Cherokee County's just going to be too tough of a matchup for them.
Yeah, I think you're right. I'd love to go out on a limb and pick Crossville this week, but I can't do it. I'm picking Cherokee County. Our next game, we've got Ider going to Collinsville. Who you got in this one?
Well, I'm going to pick Collinsville. I haven't seen either one play, but I just heard Collinsville did a really good job last week, so I'm going to have to go with them.
Logan?
I feel like Coach Stinker is going to run his boys to death this week, and they're going to be ready to get out and get a win this week because they're not going to want those practices again. So I'm going with the Ider Hornets.
Well, and this was another tough game for me. Man, I don't think I've picked against Ider all year. Coach Tinker has done such a great job there. But then on the other hand, Ernie Willingham has done a fabulous job at Collinsville too. And so, and we've talked about Collinsville and their massive offensive line. And I tell you, playing at home, I'm going with Collinsville this week. I think they're going to pull out a big win this week. So I'm going with the Collinsville Panthers. Our next game, we've got Sandrock traveling to Geraldine. Who you got in this one?
Well, I'm going to have to go with Geraldine. I've been hearing good things about them. I've seen Sandrock play, but I have not seen Geraldine, but I believe they're going to win this time because it is at Geraldine, right?
That's correct. Yeah. All right, who you got there, Logan?
I'm going to have to go with the Wildcats. I feel like Caleb K-Singer, he's a great quarterback, and I don't feel like that Geraldine's passing defense is going to be able to stop him.
Yeah. This will be one of the better games of the week, I think. And like I said, Sandrock, they had some injuries at the beginning of the season, and some of those kids are back now, and they're playing well right now. But they're playing at Geraldine, and I'm going with the Geraldine Bulldogs, and I think Geraldine will get that victory this week. Our next game, we've got Pisgah traveling to Brindley Mountain. Who you going to pick in this one, David?
Pisgah's a good football team. I saw them this past Friday night, and I just can't pull against them. I think they're going to win.
All right, Logan.
I'm going to have to agree with him there. I feel like Pisgah's a great football team. I know they lost a tough one to Plainview, but I feel like this is their game to lose against Brindley Mountain.
Yeah, I'm going with Pisgah too. I tell you, they gave Plainview all they wanted, and that was one of those games that could have went either way, and I think this Pisgah team will be too much for Brindley Mountain. Our next game, we got Section traveling to Cleveland. Who you got in this one, David?
Well, I hate to pick against a team that's close by, but I guess I'm going to have to go with Cleveland.
Yeah. What about you, Logan?
Cleveland has done some damage this year, and they're actually number one in their region. So I'm gonna have to pick with the only team that's ranked above 5 right now.
Yeah, I'm going with Cleveland too. I tell you, the Gillen kid that plays quarterback for them, man, he is an athlete, and I think playing at Cleveland, it's going to be a long night for Sexton. I think our next game, and it's the Mountain Valley News game of the week, and man, this is going to be a terrific football game. We've got North Sand Mountain traveling to New Hope. Who are you picking in this one, David?
Well, I'm going to have to go with North Sand Mountain. I saw New Hope play against Plainview on a rainy night, but I still think North Sand Mountain has got it together.
All right. Who you got in this one, Logan?
I tell you, I have New Hope circled, but I'm going to change my pick, and I'm going to go with the North Sand Mountain just because they've come through for me. I'm a fan. I'm going to have to get a North Sand shirt or something.
Well, I've talked about this. I've picked against North Sand Mountain 5 times. I'm 1-4. But I'm picking against them again. I'm going with New Hope. The Browner kid at quarterback and the Cotton kid, they have it running back, and they're playing at home. I just think they'll be a little too much for this North Sand Mountain team. But I'm telling you, I wouldn't be surprised if North Sand Mountain doesn't win this football game. But I'm going with New Hope. All right, our next game, we've got Sylvania traveling to Plainview. Who you got in this one, David?
Well, that's hard for me to pick,
Oh, yeah.
Most people don't know I graduated from Sylvania many years ago when the dinosaurs were roaming. But I'm going to go with Plainview. I'm proud of the Bears and the good work that Dustin Goodwin's doing there with the boys, and I bleed blue. So I'm going to have to go with Plainview.
Logan, who you got?
I'm with him. I feel like Plainview's on a roll right now. We talk about Sylvania having trouble holding on to the football. The weather we've been having lately is not going to help that at all. So I feel like Plainview and Sam Mueller are going to come up with this one.
Oh, yeah. I'm going with Plainview, too. I tell you, Plainview is on a roll right now, and they believe they can win now. And so, and I tell you, believing you can win is about 75% of it. And so this Plainview team thinks they can win now, and I think they'll win this week. I think they'll win big this week, actually. So I'm going with Plainview. All right, we're going to jump into a couple of college games now. We've got Georgia traveling to Tennessee. Who you got in this one, David?
I'm going to have to go with Georgia. Tennessee just cannot seem to pull it out when it gets down to the last second. So I'm going to stick with Georgia.
Logan?
I'm with him. Tennessee is not a finishing team, and I feel like Georgia's too good of a team to even let them be in the ball game in the fourth quarter.
Oh, yeah. I'm going with Georgia, too. I know Coach Pruitt probably is not a happy camper today after the way they played on Saturday, and I guarantee you he will have that defense ready this week. So I'm picking the Georgia Bulldogs. Our next game, we got LSU traveling to South Carolina. Who you got in this one?
LSU all the way. Those Tigers will be ready to play.
Mm-hmm. Logan?
I feel like Leonard Fournette's going to run all over them. Go Tigers.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, LSU will win this one big. Man, I like Steve Spurrier, but, he hasn't got a chance.
Yeah.
I'm going with LSU.
Politely.
Yeah. Tonight, and then our last game, we've got Arkansas going to Alabama. Who you got in this one, David?
Roll Tide. Alabama all the way.
There you go. Logan?
Hey, Roll Tide, that's what I like to hear. I don't think those pigs stand a chance.
Yeah, I'm going with Alabama. I tell you, Alabama matches up well with this Arkansas. Arkansas likes to run the football, and I'm telling you right now, there's not going to be many people that can run a football on Alabama's defense this year. So I'm picking Alabama to win big this week too. So, we've talked about these games. We've got them picked. And, again, we appreciate David being here with us today. And, and we appreciate you guys being here and watching. And so, we hope you get out and watch some high school football and watch some college football this week. And, and we hope you come back and be with us next week. I'm Monk Blevins. This is David Holt and Logan Wright. And God bless each one of you. And we'll see you next week.